I, 28F, have been living on my own for the past 5 years, working hard to build a stable life for myself. My childhood wasn't easy, and I've had to overcome a lot to get where I am today. I grew up in a blended family that never really felt like a family to me. My parents divorced when I was 7. Dad moved to another state for work, and I only saw him during summers and holidays. Mom struggled as a single parent for a few years, working 2 jobs to keep us afloat. When I was 10, she met Marcus, 52M, at a community fundraiser. They hit it off immediately, and within a year, they were married. Marcus already had 2 kids from his previous marriage, Ethan, 30M, and Lily, 26F. Their mom had passed away when they were young, so they lived with Marcus full-time. I was excited at first, thinking I'd have a new dad and siblings. But things didn't turn out as I'd hoped. From the beginning, it was clear that Ethan was the golden child in Marcus's eyes. He was a star athlete in high school, always bringing home trophies and making Marcus beam with pride. Lily and I got along well, but she was quieter and often faded into the background. My mom tried to balance things out, but she often ended up siding with Marcus to keep the peace. I remember one Christmas when I was 14. I had asked for a laptop for school, while Ethan wanted the latest gaming console. Come Christmas morning, Ethan got his console, and I got a refurbished desktop computer that could barely run the software I needed for my classes. When I expressed my disappointment, Mom just said, "We'll upgrade it soon, honey," but that never happened. As we grew older, the preferential treatment became more apparent. Ethan got driving lessons and a car for his 16th birthday. When my 16th came around, I was told I could use Mom's old car if I needed it. For prom, Ethan got a designer tux and limo rental. I had to buy a second-hand dress and carpool with friends. The disparity was most evident when it came to college. Ethan got a full ride from our parents, including tuition, accommodation, and a generous monthly allowance. When it was my turn to go to college, I was told that the college fund had been depleted. I had to take out student loans and work part-time jobs to make ends meet. Despite the unfair treatment, I worked hard and graduated with honors. My first job out of college was as a junior copywriter at a small marketing firm. The pay wasn't great, but it was a foot in the door. I lived in a tiny studio apartment and ate ramen more often than I'd like to admit, but I was determined to make it on my own. Over the next few years, I slowly climbed up in my career. I switched companies twice, each time for a better position and pay. I now work as a senior content strategist at a reputable digital marketing agency. I have a decent 1-bedroom apartment in a nice part of town and a job that I genuinely enjoy. I've also managed to pay off most of my student loans, which feels like a huge achievement. Throughout this time, my relationship with my family remained strained. I'd visit for major holidays, but I always felt like an outsider. Ethan continued to be the center of attention, even though his achievements after college were mediocre at best. He jumped from job to job, never seeming to find his footing, but our parents always praised him for exploring his options. Last week, I got a call from my mom. She sounded stressed and asked if I could meet her for coffee. When we met at our local cafe, she looked tired and worried. After some small talk, she dropped a bombshell on me. Apparently, Ethan had lost his job 6 months ago, and hadn't been able to find a new one. He'd been living off his savings and some help from our parents, but now he was completely broke. To make matters worse, his girlfriend of 3 years had just broken up with him and kicked him out of their shared apartment. My mom then asked if I could let Ethan stay with me for a while until he got back on his feet. I was shocked. After years of being treated like a second-class citizen in our family, they now wanted me to open my home to Ethan? I told my mom that I needed some time to think about it. When I got home, I couldn't stop thinking about all the times Ethan had made my life difficult. He used to mock me for having to work during college, saying I should just ask Dad for money like he did. He never missed an opportunity to remind me that I wasn't Marcus's real daughter. There was one incident in particular that stood out. During my sophomore year of college, I had saved up for months to buy a laptop I desperately needed for my graphic design classes. Ethan was visiting for the weekend and asked to borrow it for a few hours. When he returned it, the screen was cracked. He claimed it was an accident, but he refused to pay for the repairs, saying I should have gotten the insurance. Our parents sided with him, and I had to work extra shifts for weeks to get it fixed. After a lot of thought, I called my mom back and told her that I couldn't let Ethan stay with me. I explained that we never had a good relationship and that I didn't feel comfortable having him in my personal space. My mom got upset and said I was being selfish. She reminded me of all the times they had helped me, which weren't many, to be honest. Marcus called me later that day and berated me for refusing to help family. He said that Ethan was going through a tough time and needed support. He brought up how they had always been there for me, conveniently forgetting all the times I had to fend for myself. I stood my ground and told him that I wasn't responsible for Ethan's problems. Now, my entire family is mad at me. My mom keeps sending me guilt-tripping texts, saying things like I thought we raised you better than this and family should always come first. Marcus has been telling other family members that I'm heartless and ungrateful. Even some of my extended family members have reached out to tell me I should reconsider. My Aunt Carol, who I've always been close to, called me yesterday. She said she understood why I was hesitant but suggested I give Ethan a chance. She reminded me of how she had taken me in for a summer when things were really tough at home during my high school years. I appreciated her kindness, but I also reminded her that my situation with Ethan was different. I feel like I'm justified in my decision. I worked hard for everything I have, and I don't think I owe Ethan anything. My apartment is my safe space, and the thought of having Ethan there makes me anxious. Plus, knowing Ethan, I'm worried that if I let him stay for a while, it would turn into an indefinite arrangement. But the constant pressure from my family is making me doubt myself. Am I being too harsh? Should I give Ethan a chance despite our past? Am I the asshole for refusing to let my stepbrother move in with me? Update 1. It's been about 3 weeks since my last post, and a lot has happened. First of all, thank you to everyone who commented and offered support. Your words really helped me stand firm in my decision. A few days after I refused to let Ethan move in, my mom showed up at my apartment unannounced. I had just gotten home from work and was about to start making dinner when I heard the doorbell. When I opened the door and saw my mom standing there, looking tired and upset, I knew this wasn't going to be a pleasant visit. I invited her in, and we sat down in my small living room. She started crying almost immediately, begging me to reconsider my decision about Ethan. She said that he was sleeping on their couch and that it was causing problems between her and Marcus. Apparently, Marcus was stressed about having Ethan back home and was taking it out on my mom. She looked so defeated as she told me this, and for a moment, I felt a pang of guilt. But then I remembered all the times I had needed their support and didn't get it. Like when I had to skip my best friend's wedding because I couldn't afford the trip, and they refused to help me out. Or when I had a health scare last year and had to deal with it alone because they were too busy planning Ethan's elaborate 30th birthday party. I took a deep breath and told her again that I wasn't going to let Ethan stay with me. I explained that while I sympathized with their situation, I wasn't comfortable having Ethan in my personal space. I also pointed out that Ethan was a grown man and should be able to figure out his own living situation. That's when my mom dropped another bombshell. She confessed that the reason they were so desperate for me to take Ethan in was that Marcus had lost his job too. Apparently, the company he worked for had been downsizing, and Marcus was one of the employees let go. They were struggling financially and couldn't afford to support Ethan anymore. I was shocked. I asked my mom why they hadn't told me about Marcus losing his job before. She said they were embarrassed and didn't want me to worry. She'd also admitted that they had hoped Ethan would find a job quickly and move out, but that hadn't happened. I felt a mix of emotions, anger at being kept in the dark, sympathy for their situation, but also frustration that they still expected me to solve their problems. It was like being a teenager again, watching them bend over backwards to help Ethan while expecting me to just figure things out on my own. I told my mom that while I was sorry about their situation, it didn't change my decision. I suggested that Ethan could look for a roommate or a cheaper place to rent. I also recommended some job search websites and local employment agencies that might be able to help both Ethan and Marcus. I even offered to help Ethan update his resume if he wanted, thinking maybe this could be a way to help without having to let him move in. My mom left feeling dejected, but I felt like I had made the right choice. However, the drama didn't end there. A few days later, I got a call from Ethan himself. It was the first time we had spoken directly in years. The last time we had a real conversation was at our grandmother's funeral 2 years ago, and even then, it was just awkward small talk. Ethan started off by apologizing for how he had treated me in the past. He said he realized how unfair it had been and that he was truly sorry. He talked about how losing his job and going through a breakup had made him reevaluate his life. For a moment, I felt a glimmer of hope that maybe we could start to mend our relationship. But then Ethan's true colors showed. He said that since he had apologized, I should let him move in with me. He even had the audacity to say that I owed him for all the times he had protected me in high school, which never happened, by the way. When I refused again, he got angry and started yelling at me over the phone. He called me selfish and ungrateful, saying that I had always been jealous of him and that I was enjoying seeing him struggle. I hung up on him mid-rant. It was clear that his apology wasn't sincere and that he was just trying to manipulate me. This incident only reinforced my decision to keep my distance from him. The family pressure has intensified since then. My Aunt Carol, who had initially been understanding, called me again to say that I should be more compassionate because family is family. My younger cousin messaged me on Facebook, saying I was being mean to Ethan and that I should remember all the good times we had growing up, which were few and far between, to be honest. Even my dad, who usually stays out of family drama, called me. He said that while he understood my position, he thought I should consider helping Ethan out, if not by letting him move in, then maybe by lending him some money. I was hurt that even my dad, who knew how I had struggled, was asking me to help Ethan. It seems like the whole family has taken sides, and most of them are not on mine. I've been getting passive-aggressive comments on my social media posts, and family members have been coincidentally running into me around town to talk about the situation. Despite all this, I'm staying firm in my decision. I've decided to take a break from social media and have limited contact with my family for now. It's not easy, but I know it's necessary for my mental health. I'm focusing on my work and my own life. I've started volunteering at a local animal shelter on weekends, which has been a great way to de-stress and meet new people outside of my family drama. I'm also considering adopting a cat, something I've always wanted to do but couldn't because Ethan is allergic and it might have prevented him from visiting, not that he ever did it anyway. I'll update again if anything significant happens. Thanks again for all your support. It means a lot to know that there are people out there who understand and support my decision. Update 2. It's been about 2 months since my last update, and things have taken an unexpected turn. About 3 weeks ago, I ran into my stepsister, Lily, 26F, at a coffee shop. Lily is Marcus's daughter from his first marriage, but unlike Ethan, she and I always got along well. We weren't super close growing up, but we understood each other. She was often overlooked in favor of Ethan, much like me. Lily moved to another state for work a few years ago, so we hadn't seen each other in a while. When I saw her at the coffee shop, it was a pleasant surprise. We decided to catch up over coffee, and that's when I learned some shocking information. Lily told me that Ethan had been lying about his job situation. He hadn't lost his job 6 months ago as he claimed. In reality, he had quit his job almost a year ago because he thought he could make it big as a day trader. Apparently, he had attended some get-rich-quick seminar and was convinced he could make millions by trading stocks. Ethan had blown through his savings trying to get rich quick in the stock market. When he ran out of money, he started borrowing from our parents, telling them he was just going through a rough patch while job hunting. Lily found out because Ethan had tried to borrow money from her too, but she refused. I was furious when I heard this. All this time, my family had been pressuring me to help Ethan, and it turns out he had created this situation himself through his own poor decisions. I felt betrayed and manipulated. Lily also shared that she had tried to talk to our parents about Ethan's behavior, but they wouldn't listen. They kept making excuses for him, saying he was just going through a phase and would figure things out eventually. I decided to confront my parents with this information. I called them and asked if we could meet. When we did, I told them everything Lily had told me. To my surprise, they already knew most of it. They admitted that they had found out about Ethan's day trading fiasco a few weeks after I refused to let him stay with me. I asked them why they hadn't told me the truth. My mom broke down crying, saying they were ashamed. She said they had hoped Ethan would turn things around and they wouldn't have to tell anyone about his mistakes. Marcus, on the other hand, tried to defend Ethan, saying he was just trying to better himself and that his intentions were good. This led to a heated argument between us. I told them how hurt I was that they had lied to me and tried to manipulate me into taking care of Ethan. I pointed out how unfair it was that they always expected me to be the responsible one while enabling Ethan's bad behavior. I brought up all the times they had let me struggle on my own while bailing Ethan out of his problems. I reminded them of how I had to work multiple jobs to pay for college while Ethan got a free ride. I talked about how I had to figure out how to afford my first apartment on my own while they helped Ethan with his rent whenever he was short. The conversation ended with me telling them that I needed some time away from the family to process everything. I've decided to go low contact with them for now. It's not easy, especially with my mom constantly trying to reach out, but I know it's necessary for my mental health. As for Ethan, I heard through Lily that he's finally gotten a job at a local supermarket. It's not much, but at least he's working. He's still living with our parents, but apparently, they've given him an ultimatum to find his own place within the next 3 months. Part of me hopes this will be the wake-up call he needs, but another part of me is skeptical that anything will really change. This whole situation has been a wake-up call for me about the dynamics in our family. I'm starting to realize that I need to set stronger boundaries. I'm considering seeing a counselor to help me navigate these family issues and to work on building a healthier relationship with myself. I'm grateful for Lily for being honest with me. We've been talking more regularly now, and it's nice to have at least one family member I can trust. We're planning to meet up for dinner next week to catch up properly. I'll update again if there are any more developments. Thank you all for your continued support. Update 3. It's been about 6 months since my last update, and I wanted to share some final thoughts on this situation. After going low contact with my family, I focused on my own personal growth. I started seeing a counselor, as I mentioned in my last update, and it's been incredibly helpful. We've been working on setting healthy boundaries and dealing with the lingering effects of my childhood experiences. It's been a challenging process, but I'm starting to feel more confident in my decisions and less guilty about prioritizing my own well-being. About 2 months ago, my mom reached out to me. She left a voicemail asking if we could meet and talk. I was hesitant at first, but after discussing it with my counselor, I decided to give it a chance. We met at a neutral location, a park near my apartment. To my surprise, my mom came alone, without Marcus. She apologized for how they had handled the situation with Ethan and for not being more supportive of me over the years. We had a long, honest conversation about our family dynamics. It was difficult, but also cathartic. She admitted that they had always expected more from me because I seemed more capable, which wasn't fair. She also acknowledged that they had enabled Ethan's behavior for far too long. While we're not completely okay, we're slowly rebuilding our relationship. We've started having weekly phone calls, and she's making an effort to ask about my life and interests without bringing up Ethan or family drama. It's a small step, but it feels like progress. Marcus, on the other hand, has remained distant. He's still upset that I didn't help Ethan, but I've come to terms with the fact that I may never have a good relationship with him. My mom told me that he and Ethan had a big argument recently, which led to some tension in their household. I'm trying not to get involved in that situation. Speaking of Ethan, he's finally moved out of our parents' house. He's sharing an apartment with a coworker from the supermarket and seems to be slowly getting his life together. My mom mentioned that he's enrolled in some online classes to improve his job prospects. We're still not on speaking terms, and honestly, I'm okay with that. Maybe someday we'll be able to have a civil relationship, but for now, I'm comfortable keeping my distance. Lily and I have grown much closer over these past few months. She's been a great support system, and we're planning a sister's trip next summer. We've been sharing our experiences growing up in our blended family, and it's been healing to know that I wasn't alone in feeling overlooked. As for me, I'm doing well. I've gotten a promotion at work to team lead, which comes with more responsibilities but also a nice pay raise. I've started taking photography classes in my free time, something I've always wanted to do but never had the time or money for before. I adopted that cat I mentioned in my last update, a sweet tabby named Milo who's become my constant companion. I'm learning to prioritize my own well-being and happiness. I've started saying no more often to things I don't want to do, and I'm surrounding myself with positive people who support and encourage me. This whole experience has taught me a lot about standing up for myself and not letting others' expectations dictate my life. It wasn't easy, but I'm proud of myself for holding my ground. I've realized that sometimes, the healthiest thing you can do for yourself is to create some distance from toxic family dynamics. I'm not sure what the future holds for my relationship with my family. I'm taking it one day at a time, setting boundaries where needed, and allowing myself to hope for better days ahead. But more importantly, I'm focusing on building a life that makes me happy, surrounded by people who truly care about me. Thank you to everyone who supported me throughout this journey. Your advice and encouragement meant more than you know. To anyone out there dealing with similar family issues, remember that it's okay to prioritize your own well-being. You're not responsible for fixing other people's problems, especially at the cost of your own mental health.